So I want to welcome everybody and also remind folks to tweet using the hashtag 10xthrive. And then remember to use the chat feature to share comments and questions. Since we're recording this, though, I want to make sure we share a little bit of both of your bios. I mean, people need to know your story. So if you'll forgive me, I'm gonna share a little bit about each of you, if that's okay. So first, Rachel Onamusi, you're the founder and CEO of Be in Sync, a full-service marketing agency with expertise in all aspects of media. Obviously, you've worked on various projects ranging from media and publicity strategy development and management to marketing consulting, market research, corporate and personal brand management, product and campaign launch, all the way through to technology training and certification platforms management. As an accomplished growth facilitator, you are a co-founder of the 10X Thrive Conference.
I am.
Just thrilled to know you, friend. And love sharing your background. And also, I have to thank you because of you, I had a chance to meet Omawumi Ogbe, and I'm going to share your bio as well. So having worked in varying fields such as advertising, broadcasting, healthcare, internet publishing, and more, Omawumi Ogbe is a well-rounded, innovative thinker and media entrepreneur. Again, obviously. The managing partner at GLG Communications, a Lagos-based PR and communications agency serving global brands. Ogbe works with individual and corporate brands to leverage communications for success. A TEDx speaker, highly recommend if you haven't seen her TEDx talk, and show host. She's a certified life coach with studies in neurolinguistic programming, emotional freedom techniques, emotional intelligence, and more. And in 2019, she was honored with the Coaching Icon Award for her work in coaching and media, also a co-founder of the 10X Thrive Conference. So everyone listening, please welcome Rachel and Omawumi as they join us to explore this topic, the story truly behind 10X Thrive, diving in and getting things done with action to thrive.
So let's start.
We need to do a masterclass on how to read bios like you.
I'm pretty sure you both made it fantastically easy for me by doing all the amazing things that you've done. All I got to do was speak about them. So I want to thank both of you for letting me facilitate this conversation between the two of you. I have so many questions. We'll see how many we can fit in this time slot, but maybe, Omawumi, I think we'll start with you. I was wondering if you could just share the story of how was this thing born? How was 10X Thrive born?
Right. It was really, Rachel and we're both in communications and we've worked together with clients. We've collaborated many times. And during the pandemic, we did a lot of work together, The pandemic, we were all jumping from one Zoom or one webinar to the other. Most of it we were organizing for clients. And so we were in a meeting one day and, Rachel was like, you know what? Why we can actually do this? Why don't we organize something, that is ours, that we do for people, that will bring people to come together. And so we're like, let's have a meeting. We had a meeting on Google Meets and we spoke and we're just brainstorming. I'm like, 10X Thrive. Okay, Rachel was like, yeah, I like that name, 10X Thrive. And that was it. And we just, we created a document and just started on things, and it just blew up.
Yeah.
How it is today. So that was how it started, really. We thought we wanted something that we could give to people that would fill in the gaps that we had noticed in some of these conferences.
Wow. So a couple of things I'm hearing that just make so much sense to me. One, knowing Rachel and since getting to know you, that this was born out of almost a servant leader perspective. This idea of we have something that we can bring and we can share. But then two, that you just started. You had this idea and there was no question of, can we do this? It was almost right away, how do we do this? And yes. I just love that. I want to highlight that because I'm sure there are people listening who it's helpful to remember that big things like this can happen with that switched perspective of not can we, but just jumping right into how do we. Well, Rachel, I want to ask you because Omawumi mentioned that you're both in communications and right. I know you've both been in communications for a long time. Did you expect, based on your experience, the level of attention? I mean, you're in communications, so I have to imagine some of this was planned, but you have gotten a lot of attention for this ideas that you
Yes.
made happen. Did you expect that?
In a word, no. So we obviously thought we would leverage our connections with media houses and media platforms. But to be honest, I'm not going to say we had low expectations, but we just knew that this was definitely like the first edition of this. We weren't sure if people would take a gamble on us, if people thought we knew what we were doing. Many people know us individually, but they have no knowledge of if we can do this, if we can pull this together, if we can bring this caliber of speakers, of contributors, of panels, of sessions together. So we were very, very measured in our expectations. We were very, you know what, Omawumi, let's put it on. Let's give it 3 years and maybe we might get X, Y, Z, and maybe we might get, but we've got to be consistent and we've got to stick to it. It blew us out of the water because we were both saying, it's not like we don't already have enough work. So why are we doing it? And then it got to the point where we couldn't back out even if we wanted to.
Right, it almost grew legs and started going.
So we just said, we have something to prove to ourselves. We've got to pull this together because I had the pleasure of working with Omawumi back of house. And when I say this woman pulls strings for clients, she pulls strings for clients. I was like, I know you can do this, so let's do it. And that's really what we did. So no, we didn't expect, we didn't even hope for it, never mind expect it. We couldn't have hoped to do this in our inaugural year. So this has been just an amazing experience back to back.
I think what I take away from that, as somebody who would hope one day to be able to build things in the way that you two have so successfully built this, is you put the focus on having a great event, of trying it. It was like an experiment and you wanted to add value. You didn't right away place pressure on, we're going to achieve this number of participants, we're going to achieve this kind of publicity. And I think there's power to us who are looking to you, your audience, who's looking to you as wonderful examples of what we can make happen when we work on something like this. I'm hearing, be careful where you put your expectations and where you put your goal markers. You both put them on, here are the things we can control. We know that we can bring in some rock star speakers based on our network. We know that based on our experience, we can focus on communications. Let's do that and let's experiment. And by setting the mark there on what you can do versus on, here's the attention we're going to get. Wow, look, you got that attention anyway because you focused on the good work that you can do.
Yeah,
so for me, that's what I'm taking away from that. But I don't want to put my goals on you necessarily. Let me just ask you, and maybe Omawumi, if you want to take this one, what were some of the goals that you had aimed to achieve as you were starting to plan this event? What were some of the goals that you had for it? And based on this kind of being the first day, would you say that you've achieved those?
Yes. Thank you so much, Sarah. You just asked great questions. I say yes. I say we have achieved that because let me tell you, Sarah, there are people who sent us messages, who reached out to us, who reached out to the 10X Tribe, because some people do not even know that we are behind this, right? Because we didn't really put ourselves front and center of the 10X Tribe. It's just towards the end where we had to do like some press. So you now see that, co-founder, but on my bio, you won't see anywhere in my LinkedIn or my page that says co-founder 10X Tribe or something. Because I usually will post about events, about things that I'm working on, but I never say, these are my clients or something like that. And Rachel's like that as well. So people did not know that we were the founders, right, of 10X Drive. And so the to the 10X account and say, I want to speak. And if you check these people, Rachel, Sarah, these are amazing people, who are like thought leaders in the industries. And they're sending us messages to say, I want to speak at this event. And for me, that is the biggest, I really don't outside validation or something like that. But sometimes these things help, right? So that was the biggest confirmation that I could have gotten. It showed that people see value. People want to be a part of it. The support has been amazing. And so I'd say we've achieved our goal. And you touched on something there where you talked about expectation and not really, being realistic, right? We have one of the speakers who talked about goals, why we do achieve the goals. We know that sometimes, all these expectations, they're really the root for disappointment when you have like put something too high and maybe you want to earn 50 million, but you've never earned 1 million before, so that sort of thing, like the way Rachel has said it. So we wanted to do something well. We know that we can bring in the media power. We knew that because we do this. However, we didn't expect it to be this way. And so we're very grateful for how it's turned out.
That's amazing. And I love to hear, again, how much focus you're putting on the wonderful speakers who wanted to be a part of this and how you're taking that as part of the goals. Really, I would agree that when I go to the 10X Thrive website, it's not the Rachel and Omawumi show, right? You really put the focus on your speakers. And I think there's so much power and so much to celebrate in the fact that a lot of these folks came to you, heard about what you were doing, and came to you. That's really powerful. Well, I wanted to ask Rachel, because when I first talked to you about the event, one of the things that I loved was the theme. I wanted to ask you about this theme, Action to Thrive. Where did this come from, or just what does Action to Thrive mean to you?
Okay, I think that was born out of both of our just fed up with faux positivity and memes and nice sounding words. Thriving takes action. It's hard work. It's growth. It is painful. It takes time. And today, I didn't think my events would be a very, very real example of action to thrive, because we had a major stumbling block right at the beginning of this, where we had the first half hour, 45 minutes, and we couldn't go live for love or money. We were back of house, kicking furiously. And we could have just buried our heads in the sand. And Omawumi and I had a pull-out Wusa session, and we just said, we've got 50 speakers, we're gonna do this. What do we need to do to make this work? And it hurts. Calling speakers and apologizing and saying, look, we're going to try to get you back on. And hey, are people still in the lobby? How are we going to do this? All right, we need to double up some of the sessions because these people were still waiting in the green room. We had people whose sessions had ended an hour prior, and they were in the green room saying to us, if you'll still have us, we'll still speak. So action takes work. It hurts. It's not a meme. It's not a nicely worded little phrase. It's not, ooh, look at the daffodils. It's, oh my God, are you serious? I gotta go do this, or I gotta go do that. It's going to the gym when you don't want to. It's working on a certificate or on a PhD on a Saturday when your friends are out. So we wanted to present or offer sessions that would give people willing to do the work, the blueprints it takes to take that action. So thriving requires action. We will give you the tools to do that. What you do with that, it's up to you. My God, we actioned today, didn't we? We actioned like we haven't actioned in a while, but look at us now. We're thriving. We're on time. We're doing what we need to do when we need to do it. We're back on schedule.
What an incredible example of thriving. And to your point, it's so much more than the toxic positivity, which is everywhere, by the way. It's toxic and it's abundant, right? You turn on social media and it's the pretty meme with the nice quote. Exactly. It reminds me, I don't know, in America, we have all these terrible posters in K through 12 classrooms. It's like the soaring eagle going over a mountaintop, and it's like, resilience is the will to fly. And you're like in 5th grade looking at that, like, I can't fly. I don't understand what that means. And that to me is toxic positivity. It's the, you can do it. Okay, what? And how exactly? But to your point, for people who are willing to put in the work, here's the blueprint. It's not going to be easy. It might hurt sometimes. You might have a huge inaugural conference that for the first 30 minutes, you can't get the light to turn on so that everyone can come into the room. That doesn't mean that we can't still go, that we can't still do. I wrote down so many notes about that. I feel like for me, I'm walking away with action to thrive. That's the antidote to toxic positivity. It's the cure, because it's putting the focus on the work that we need to do, not necessarily that it's all going to be butterflies and rainbows, but we can do this work. And if we partner together, we can learn the best strategies for doing this work so that our hard work takes us farther.
Right. Absolutely.
I love that.
So
Sarah, you're speaking now. You are speaking.
Well, let me ask you, Omawumi, because Rachel had a chance to talk a little bit about the challenges this morning and how you overcame them. I would love to hear from you. What are some of the biggest lessons that you learned in putting this conference together, running day one, thinking about day two? What are some of your organizing takeaways?
Right. You cannot be over prepared, right? I have always, even my TEDx talk, for example, once I was there, the screen wouldn't work, and so I couldn't see my presentation, right? So I had to present from my head. Just imagine talking about diagrams, this and that. I did that. I mean, the presentation is just so that you know what comes next. But I couldn't see the screen because then somebody else was operating for the people, but I was just, talking. So you need to know your stuff. You can't, be about fluff. There has to be substance, right? For example, even in this session today, this whole thing, I had to jump in because a moderator did not come. Imagine, and I jumped. I didn't have questions for her. I had to, create new questions because the questions they were created for, it didn't work, So you have to be able to you have to be able to take action. Things will not always, like you said, it won't always be butterflies. Things will happen. How do you know a champion? Is when you fall. It's when it gets bad, right? It's good to have it good. It's good to have it great. But what if it doesn't? So this has shown us, that you have to be over prepared. Okay, you just be prepared. If plan A doesn't work, what do you want to do with B? What do you want to do? The alphabet A didn't go, but you can go to B, right? And so find a way. You can't just go and sit down and start crying and saying emotion. Just emotional intelligence is very key. You want to really fortify yourself and know how to respond. The pandemic has shown us again that you have to anticipate change. We have to constantly pivot. So with this event, for example, today we were pivoting so many times. If stage doesn't work, let's pivot to sessions. If sessions doesn't work, put everybody on speaker. You have to know, you have to be flexible. Flexibility and dynamism will help you succeed in life. You can't just be rigid. The goal is we want to have a great conference, right? So if this doesn't work, find another way. At the end of the day, we'll get to our goal. Another thing I've learned with the whole thing is just start and things will work. Just start. Don't have to wait for everything to be perfect. Put it out there. Sometimes I say that perfectionism is really just procrastination in nice clothes. Most of people just, what to let me wait till it's great. No, you're just hiding, right? Another thing is be good to people, because when you're good to people, they'll show up for you. All those media houses, all those people were posting about the events. It's just because we've been good to them as well. They see the value we bring, and so they're now supporting us. So these are some of the things that I can share that I have learned.
Oh, I love that. And the one that you're kind of ending on there, the good to you, and as your point, Rachel, you didn't pay for a lot of the publicity that you got, but I would argue that in a way you did, but it was the time and effort and attention that you paid to those relationships, that investment that is how you paid for that attention. And
if I could just jump in here, because I know you're not going to say it, so I will. Omawumi and I, again, because this was never meant to be about us, but giving back to the people, I actually contacted Sarah. Omawumi probably doesn't know this, but I called her up in a panic about a week ago, and I said, Omawumi, we're not on the program. And she said, what do you mean we're not on the program? We're not meant to be on the program. And I said, well, everybody's saying to us, we need to have a session and this and this and this. And I contacted Sarah less than a week ago. And she just said, tell me what you need, tell me what time you need me, and I will be there. And that is another example of a relationship that just keeps giving back and forth. And Sarah and I have never met in person. I just said, Sarah, I don't know where you are in the world, I don't know what you're doing, but I need you to come on board and interview me on such and such a date, and this is what we're talking about. You do what you want with the questions. And she was here. So again, Omawumi said start, and I can't say more than that. We started and we had amazing people like Sarah join us, just jumped on the bus and just went wherever we were taking them. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience. Thank you, Sarah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I teared up a little bit. I can't help it. I just, like you said, we haven't met in person, but I saw you present at a conference where I was also presenting, and you were so supportive of my content. You responded when I supported your content, and I thought, this is a person I would like to know. And we've stayed in touch. And I have been so grateful for all the things I've learned from you. So this was a small, you drive any bus to me and say, Sarah, get on board. I will be on board, whatever you need.
Thank you.
We don't have much time left, but I want to highlight something that Omawumi, that you just shared about being prepared. I wanted to highlight that you mentioned emotional intelligence. So preparing by having for yourself the ability to separate yourself from your emotions. Rachel, earlier you said sometimes you need a woosah moment. Things are going crazy. There's a tornado, woosah moment. Having the emotional intelligence is the preparation we do on ourselves. But then 2, putting in the work, being so over prepared that if a moderator drops out last minute and you have to step up and take the metaphorical mic, that you can. So putting the preparation in yourself with EQ, in the work by being prepared, but also in your goal. So you mentioned that your goal was to have a great conference. The goal is not for XYZ person to be the moderator. That might not happen. That's plan A. Doesn't matter. That's not the goal. The conference was not built so that XYZ person could be a moderator. The conference was built to be a great conference. And by putting the preparation in, by knowing your values and your goals, you were able to pivot. So I just wanted to highlight that because it was a beautiful kind of like 3-pronged approach to preparation in yourself, in the work, and in the mission. And that was really beautiful. And you said it like on the spot. So I just wanted to highlight how great that was.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And on speaking on expectations, there's a question here, Sarah. Do you want to check that out? I think it just follows through. And you may even, just answer the question as well.
Let's see if I tap on the Q&A. In managing your goals and expectations, what tools did you use to determine what was most important? That's really powerful because today we've talked a lot about how you all set your goals. So what tools did you use to try to figure out what your goals and expectations were going to be for this conference?
Okay, for me, because I'm a certified coach, so I usually would think about these things as a coach using the coaching principles. It's really just the process. Follow the process. What are your goals? You first of all need to, the old SMART goals. Definitely want to do that, and then say like last night or into this morning, Rachel and I, we were doing some work. We worked up until 2 a.m. my time and 1 a.m. our time, right? And then when we were going to go off the chat, and I said, 10X Thrive was a successful event. Everybody, I spoke in past tense as it was already done. So the first thing you want to do is, there's this popular saying, as a person thinks, so he is, so she is. You want to think, if you want to, don't think about the things you don't want. People will tell you, I don't want a job that stresses me. How about you focus on the job that you want? So in expectations, speak about the things you want. Don't say, I don't want only 500 people to come for my event. Speak about, I want 10,000 people to come for my event, right?
Wow.
Of course, realistic goals, smart goals, so the whole thing, right? But please, you want to really write those things down. Don't just talk. Add a sheet. We have a blueprint where we go to write every day. When we meet, we'll put the date and we write it. It's a live Google Doc, and we keep writing there. You write. When you write, the studies, it's a science, it shows when you write things down that you're more likely to achieve them than when you just say, no matter how brilliant you are, the dullest pen is still sharper than your brain, So write things down. write things down. And so these are some of the things that helped us. Rachel, if you want to chip in on that, about some of
Well,
the
and Rachel,
tools.
I'll just recap. So for folks who had the question about the, what are the tools you mentioned, manifesting your goals, writing them down, speaking them clearly. 2, not being in the negative. Our brains don't work that way. If I tell you, don't think about an elephant, what do you think about? Right? Our brains don't do well with don't, right? And so it's not the don't, it's not the I don't want. What do we want? Let's think about what we do want. So putting it positive, and then using the tools like the SMART goals or other formats to make sure our goals are really specific. Rachel, anything to add?
The only thing I would add to that would be deadlines. Omawumi and I had a period where we said, this is blue sky thinking. This is all the things we would love to have happen. This is great. This is, imagine if Obama spoke, and imagine if we could get this person and that person. And then you stop. And then you start on the next stage of the thing, which is, okay, well, what can I realistically do? Okay, if I do want Obama, what would that look like? What are the phone calls? What are the processes? Who do we know? How do we send that email? When do we cut off that dream? So I'm not waiting for Obama until the 9th of February if my event is starting on the 10th. We had a conversation between ourselves. We would love XYZ person, and we're going to do everything to get this person. Contact who you know. I'm going to contact who I know. And then we're going to do this until the 10th of January. After the 10th, whoever we have in the basket, these are the people we're going to work on. What are the sessions that we're going to have? How do we sew? Just to give another real life example, we had a speaker pull out yesterday at 7 p.m. We had a speaker at 7:05 because we knew the list of the people we wanted to speak and the sort of event that we wanted to do. So the other tools, I'm just trying to go back to what she was saying in terms of tools. Collaborative tools, my God, Asana, Trello, Google Docs, Google team meetings, contacting people, doing 3-way calls on WhatsApp. Technology has been the bane of our existence today, but it is also what made today possible at the same time. So I have reminders up the wazoo. I have things that I need to remember. So I don't rely on my brain for anything to do with this conference. I have a reminder set for 7 o'clock. I have a reminder for 7:05. I have one for 7:10. So use the tools at your discretion to manage your own expectations. So you don't jump out of bed at 3 a.m. Oh my God, I said I was going to call Sarah. Oh God, what is going on? Tools, we use technology to its full, but really time management and cutting out your time in blocks and what you hope to achieve by those blocks, and be ruthless about an exit strategy. Okay, Obama's just not coming. What are we doing? What's next?
Right.
What are we? Yeah, we just have to move on.
That might be my favorite takeaway from a standpoint of how you built the conference. This idea of this is our dream space, and then that ends at this point. And at that point, we move on with what we have. What a powerful way of looking at building something new so that you have space for blue sky, but they are also getting things done, to the point of today's theme. Well, I know that we are at time, so I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. I want to make sure I have a chance to just thank you both for all the work you've done, for creating this amazing platform, and also for just being wonderful examples of servant leaders, of content creators who make things happen. I know that everyone today is getting a chance to learn so much because of the two of you. So I hope you have some time to celebrate. And we are all looking forward to another great day tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I just want to part with an Omawumi phrase. This was a fantastic conference. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. And please join the rest of the sessions. I just want to add for people who focused about their goals. We have a swag bag where we have some free gifts. We're going to give the swag bag to everyone. We'll send it across. Everyone who has registered, who attended. And I have a goal setting and a vision board class. It's a live class with a goal workbook. And we've put it for 50% discount through this for everyone who's here. So you can use the code we'll get that to you, and just so that you have something to work with. And there's free, stuff from some of the speakers who have dropped in the swag bag, right?
Wow, that's wonderful.
Thank you all.
Sarah.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.